Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience today here in the Thor Open League of Legends tournament, but we are now finally set and ready to roll. Team Fnatic taking on the Wolves in a best of 3 for that share of 70,000 sex. Wow. That's a lot of sex there, Krona.
I gotta admit that it just sounds like a lot, and at the same time you gotta realize that's a lot. That's what's the conversion rate, around $10,000 if I'm not mistaken?
More or less, yeah. There's a few odds and ends in there, but $10,000. That's a nice round number to get your head around.
Sex, US dollars, I'll take it either way. Either way, it's a lot of money for these teams to take home. And I gotta wonder, what kind of pressure are these teams under? I mean, obviously we have Fnatic, we have the Season 1 champions. They just recently did extremely well back at IPL 5. They placed second. They did very well at the last IEM. It's just they're looking like an extremely strong team. So I wonder, how much pressure Wolves are under, or I wonder if Wolves are strong themselves as a team and know, what, we got this, we can beat them. Maybe we could do this, because they've been doing really well these last couple of days at the same time.
There we go. All right, so they have been doing well, haven't they? Let's see what the Wolves can do against the Season 1 champions, the new DreamHack and second place at IPL 6 finishers, Team Reckless. Team captain. I'm gonna call it right now. He's first place there. He's team captain. Yeah, 16-year-old team captain. Either way, Wolves versus Fnatic, best of 3 finals. Apparently, Cyanide was just playing a game in solo queue, and everyone's now saying ban Fiddlesticks.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Support Fiddle, maybe?
Possibly. I mean, Jungle Fiddle is actually quite strong now in the new jungle. I mean, either way, I don't know. It'd be rather interesting. Anyways, first ban's coming out from Wolves. We have Vayne first ban. Obviously a target ban towards Reckless, as his Vayne is pretty darn legendary. Fnatic Raid Call responding with a Rengar ban. Obviously the top lane Nigad Bro is a very, very good top lane, as we've seen over these past, these past games today and yesterday. He's just absolutely fantastic. Wolves coming out with Katarina second ban, and then Olaf as the second ban for Fnatic. That's actually the first Olaf ban we've seen, haven't we?
Might actually be the first ban. I'm trying to remember. He's definitely been in a lot of the games though this weekend. He's been a very hard-hitting top lane. We've even seen him in the jungle. And you know what? Our first game that we did cover yesterday in Sigma was Wolves versus Fnatic. So it's kind of interesting how we've come full circle all the way from the first round robin game to the finals. And we did have a jungle Olaf then as well. So no Fiddlesticks ban going down, but Blitzcrank actually getting banned out by the Wolves, which is kind of interesting because XL Winner plays a fantastic Blitzcrank.
That he does, but I think knowing that there's only so many bans left, Blitzcrank was probably the better idea. Because as soon as the Cho'Gath ban came out from Fnatic, that first pick from Wolves was just Diana, instant lock-in. They didn't even bother waiting. So I bet that they were saying, either we're gonna ban Diana, we're gonna ban Blitzcrank, or we're gonna ban, let's see who else is open. I mean, of course, there's the few, Shen and Malphite and stuff open, but for the most part, I really think, Blitzcrank makes a little bit more sense too, because N-Rated's Blitzcrank is so good. He played him, I believe it was either once or twice yesterday, but every time he pulled with that Blitzcrank, it almost never missed, and it was just absolutely fantastic. So Fnatic picking up Lee Sin and Zyra. They actually let Fnatic get Zyra. I'm a little cautious about this one. I wonder if Wolves knows how well N-Rated is, with his Zyra pick.
Well, Lee Sin going to go off to Soaz again, and Zyra has been a very predominant pick this weekend as well. But Wolves the Taz, he's going to be picking up that Ezreal, and this is a first, a Garen.
See, now, if Fnatic ends up sending Lee Sin top lane, Garen is actually an extremely good idea. Not to mention Garen's already stacking very well with that Black Cleaver, which is kind of an overpowered item. Let's just get that out on the table. It's kind of an overpowered item, and his Black Cleaver just really goes well with it. But on top of that, if you send Lee Sin top lane, Lee Sin gets really shut down by a lot of silences. And what does Garen have? His Q is an instant silence, and it's just so useful.
Man, oh man. People calling it out in chat. That Ari coming out for Xpeke as well as Caitlyn for Reckless. Now, we saw yesterday something of an oddity in terms of an Ari build. We saw a Malady come out by Xpeke.
That we did, and we were kind of wondering, I remember we were talking about it a little bit, and it makes sense, viably. Like, it may not be your standard, Rabadon's Death Cap, it may not be your standard Zonias and all the other items that you generally get on an ability power champion, but having that attack speed to not only hit with the spell sword, but to drop the magic resist at the same time, plus the magic pen that you get from your haunting guys and your Sork shoes and the reduced magic resist from the Abyssal Scepter, Malady's actually a pretty good idea, just as a general whole. And then we also see Caitlyn being picked up as the AD carry for Fnatic. Wolves picking their final two, Lulu and Warwick. So that's obviously going to be, of course, a Garen top in response to that Lee Sin. And if Fnatic picks up that Mundo as well, I mean, obviously you have that Garen versus it. To be straight up, I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of Garen, but he's certainly not a very weak pick, and we have to expect something from Wolves. Earlier, we did hear, Niagro say that he had something up his sleeves, or Wolves did have something up their sleeves. So, maybe that's what came from that.
Yeah, a Garen to shut down a Lee Sin in that top lane. It's very likely not to be a Mundo in that top, although we could have a two for one on lane swaps. But either way, last pickups coming up, Lulu, and we're gonna have the return of that Warwick, or not. Not entirely too sure what happened to Xpeke there, but Mundo was the last pick coming out from Fnatic. So Mundo in the jungle. Yeah, Garen is definitely not Garen. Garen was Elise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's Garen was Elise. That's what Fnatic N-rated saying. I don't think I should actually trust N-rated.
All right. Well, I mean, either way, Elise is an extremely strong pick right now. Not obviously, you have the Liandry's Torment to stack with a Magic Pen, but between Liandry's Torment, the amount of Magic Pen that you stack on her, and her Q being a targetable skill that does percentage of current health, it's it's a really strong pick. And then not to mention with the new Frozen, or not the Frozen Fist, they rechanged that what was it, Glacial Gauntlet item. With Sheen and the Glacial Shroud. It's a
Frozen Fist?
Yeah, but it used to be Frozen Fist, but they changed it after the public beta. I'm pretty sure it's Glacial Gauntlet now.
Look at these bands.
So it looks like they're returning that out in
CLGSUX. You saw it here first, guys.
Interesting. Somebody screen cap this and post that on Reddit.
Thor open. CLG sucks. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Alright, so we're just going quickly here through all the picks once again. They're saying that Garen was Elise, and that would make a little bit more sense. We have seen more of Elise, has been a very prominent top laner. And Garen, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with Garen. He just doesn't seem like much of a counter to Elise.
It's not it's not in the idea of a hard counter. It's the only really good thing about it would be the silence. I guess that's just what I originally was going running through my mind. I mean, of course, Garen could go against Lee Sin, but I definitely like the Elise pick much better. Of course, every time Lee Sin's gonna come up to last hit, he's gonna have to take a huge chunk of his health from that Elise.
CLGSUX. Yeah. This is the new meta game, guys. When you remake, just throw down all the bans that you ever want. Or hell, just throw them down in an important game, in an important tournament. Yeah, that's good too. So it is at least going to be getting picked up there by Negod, bro, and very likely just to throw that top. Because we do got Jerkson there once again on Diana. His powerhouse AP has been doing some amazing work mid lane. But Xpeke, of course, Ari, as we saw yesterday, you know, very different kind of playstyle with that Malady. Still not too sure if he was trolling or not, but either way, added quite a bit of extra damage with that spell sword. So Reckless bottom lane, Caitlyn with and rated on that Zyra, so as of course on his Lee Sin top, and we see some barriers coming out more and more. It doesn't even look like Tess is interested in cleanse, although Reckless still hasn't made the swap.
You know, if I were a betting man, the cleanse would only come out if the Fnatic team had a much harder crowd control. I mean, as it stands, all you really have is like a Caitlyn route with the cupcake, or the N-rated route, or even, you know, the Ari charm. I can't imagine
Cleavers, yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine a cleanse would really change that up. The effective health you get from the barrier would make more sense in that scenario. But you do see Caitlyn taking cleanse, you know, because of Lulu, because of Warwick, because of Diana, and you know, that one actually makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, so it's going to be those barriers and cleanse on Reckless. Now, what's our support running? And rated is going to be going off with that Ignite bottom lane, whereas Lulu, once again, also with that Ignite. So we're just going to take a quick look around at some of these rune pages.
It's a little interesting to see people run away from, you know, that exhaust. It kind of, I was talking about it yesterday, but it kind of gives the idea that they're not really worried about any, you know, single one champion when it comes to, you know, either team fights or being, you know, very, very strong. They're setting up to basically just win their lanes, and all of them counting on each other to do it.
This is interesting. I think this actually might be the first time I've looked at the test, but all weekend, or at least this game, he's running 17-13-0, getting all the way down to the block.
Interesting. So that's Ezreal going to be up against Caitlyn Zyra, right?
Yep, Caitlyn Zyra versus the Ezreal Lulu lane. So let's see actually what Reckless runs for AD. Very different kind of page. Oh yeah, Reckless, we saw this yesterday, has a little bit of pretty much everything. Some mana regen, physical, armor, as well as magic resist, and that 9.93% crit chance. Not quite 1%, but coming into the game with 1% rounded up crit chance, at least to the client, and then a 22.53, so something a bit more offensive. Very interesting just how we play our different ADs.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's a lot of it's attributed to the new, you know, mastery trees due to season 3. Of course, we haven't had enough time to actually figure out what's the optimal setup on, you know, every champion and every role. But, you know, when you get right down to it, with all of the different options in the different trees, it may not be necessary for all AD carries to run the exact same page. It may not be necessary for, you know, every Warwick to run exactly the same page. So when we see situations like this, Ezreal pick up something like block or reduced champion damage, it kind of tells us that he's actually going to be in the trades a little bit more. Is the amount of damage that he'll be blocking from, you know, Caitlyn worth the amount of damage that he's not doing due to Executioner?
We also have a 14-16 split on Soaz top lane with that Lee Sin. He's actually only running armor, magic resist, and physical damage. I kind of expected some attack speed to come out of that for a laning Lee Sin. But either way, guys, game number 1 of the finals about to go down. Blue side, the Wolves, coming out second place in their placements and did take out Team Alternate 2-0 to get here. And Fnatic, very dominant, of course, has not dropped a single game this tournament, getting all the way to the finals with 0 losses to their names.
You know, I think if anyone's going to be able to take a win against Fnatic, Wolves has to be the biggest option. And, you know, not to discredit any of the other teams this tournament, but Wolves is looking very strong, even though they have had, you know, a little bit of a trouble against Fnatic already. I mean, just looking at their other games and how their team works together, they're already just looking absolutely strong. So we do have Wolves, or the Copenhagen Wolves, starting out on the blue side in the bottom left-hand corner of your map, and Fnatic Raid Call starting as the red side in the top right corner.
So we got pings going down pretty much everywhere. Of course, a little bit of a blind ping, but they are going to be finding Jergsen as well as Sven's. And at the same time, Elise in that bush, able to just track the Fnatic movement. They are going to come down for a blue invade. Again, pings coming down. They're well aware of this, but it should get warded out. I mean, in terms of the wards, we only got 2 wards early game here for Fnatic, but did they just destroy it?
I think they did get it in time. Yeah, they did actually get that ward in time. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, if we take a look just straight down the items, Fnatic they only picked up a couple of wards at the start. But looking at Wolves, every single member except for Ezreal has at least 1 ward.
And the Tess is actually not going to start off boots either. He's going to get that cloth armor 5 pots that we've seen before from him in this bot lane. So, with the defensive masteries and this extra armor up against Caitlyn, he might be looking to do more solid and consistent trading. I mean, neither of them have those sustain supports. We're going to have to see how aggressive he gets in the bot lane. So either way, Caitlyn trap as well as that 1 ward at the blue. Of course, no invade actually stuck around. Sven's able to pick up his red. At the same time, Mundo able to pick up the blue. And we do have that lane swap. Knee Godbro has to go 2-on-1 against this top lane and already down to half health.
Yeah, this is not a situation you want to be in as Ahri. Running something as very close, or as Elise, running something as very squishy as that champion it's really a kind of a bad scenario. So the reason Fnatic did that is, 1, to shut down that Elise early on, and then on top of that, Caitlyn and Zyra did actually pick up the double golems, whereas the Tess and Winner did not get their bottom side golems. The only big problem here is that Lee Sin as well is getting shut down at the same time. The other big thing I wanted to point out is Ahri. Look at her starting build. She has 2 fairy charms and potions.
2 what? 2 fairy charms and 3 pot? So I expect he's not planning to go home anytime soon.
Interesting. I mean, he's obviously going for a Soul Shroud really early on, or I guess maybe not. He could even build like a Philo Stone and a Chalice out of that. I mean, it could be a lot of different things, but that's a lot of mana regen for those 2 items.
Yep, 6 mana regen out of that. And if I do recall, 2 Fairy Charms could also become a mana manipulator as well.
That's right. Oh yeah, that's right, because they removed the Soul Shroud. I was thinking, but that's a rather interesting build path. I'm wondering if... I'm wondering the actual thought process behind picking that up versus, picking up something like a Doran's Ring with even that much mana regen.
Well, Soaz still on that 1 versus 2 situation, but up top, just being crammed right into the tower. Reckless and N-rated are pretty much on top of things this top lane. We do got Cyanide just off to the side. I was interested to see if we were going to see a little bit of a dive, but this early on does not seem to be the case. Soaz, unfortunately, dropping a little bit under half health. We do find Cyanide there in the bush from Sven's Karan. So either way, not a good lane for our solo queuers.
No, definitely not. Both Elise and Lee Sin are kind of in a really bad spot. Elise sitting at 6 CS at this point. She did have to start out with a lot of health regen. Lee Sin started out with that Doran shield. He's able to farm just a little bit better under his own turret, but still only at 12 CS. 4 minutes into the game. I mean, you don't really have much of a choice when it comes down to it.
No, not much of a choice at all. Xpeke is actually pushing in the mid pretty decently. That mana regen, he's had to use 1 potion, whereas, of course, Diana did start off with that flask in her own pot. Still has that ward available to her. And that was something like level 1, we typically see these total biscuits of rejuvenation as well as the Explorer wards, but we didn't see any of that coming out for Fnatic. So now I'm a little curious, what is N-rated running for Masteries?
I would assume that N-rated is actually running like the AP style masteries, where he's not going straight up for utility style tree, but it looks like Wolves picking up that bottom lane turret really early, and that's going to allow them to sort of trade off that pressure. They're probably going to switch that up, put Elise bot lane, and turn that one around. Yeah, it looks like they're recalling, but I would actually expect Fnatic or N-Rated to run the AP masteries, running almost like an AP caster rather than a support.
Well, she does have 4 ability power and only that flask to her name, so she got some kind of scaling AP somewhere. So as a little bit of relief, he is going to get some extra creeping out of this. And, in terms of just that, how well have we handled the 2 versus 1 swaps? 20 creeps to the 7 of Elise. That being said, Elise does have a Philosopher's Stone going into the bot lane, or maybe the jungle.
Yeah, I really, obviously, Elise has to pick up some form of GP10. You clearly cannot deal with that 1v2 lane and not have any sort of income. You're really just hurting yourself out, hurting yourself down. But the good thing about Elise, though, is that you actually don't really build ability power on her in the first place. I mean, obviously, you want to get Magic Pen and cooldown reduction, but if you can't get that, the Philosopher's Stone is still going to work just as well on her.
So a bit of harass coming out, N-rated with those plants of his, doing some pretty decent damage. 7 minutes in, no kills as of yet, and the test now up top lane has had the advantage of going home. So of course he does have the boots, the cloth armor, and the double Doran's blades. Same as Lulu with that flask as well as the Philosopher's Stone. So they should be able to just push this lane all the way back, but still 62 creeps for Reckless at 7 minutes in. He's doing a fantastic job keeping up with the last hits.
Down at bottom lane, Godbro actually getting flashed behind, and Soaz kicking him back. He is going to be able to rappel into the sky and flash back into it, but Xpeke coming in for that first blood dive under the tower.
Top lane, though, it is going to be the Tess going to be able to get that revenge kill. Flashes forward, is going to go for the kill on top of Reckless, does evade. Wow, actually he evaded the Piltover, but he killed Lulu. I'm not too sure if that was intentional or not, but able to trade out 1 for 2, not the 2 for 0. Jerkson, however, going to go into the jungle, looking for a little bit of that blue pressure, but Xpeke maybe on the receiving end is going to flash out. Jerkson does not follow with the flash. Unfortunately, flashes the wrong way, and Xpeke is going to be able to walk out of that one.
Yeah, that was kind of a misclick. I think he expected Xpeke to flash over into the blue wall rather than right behind it.
I would have assumed the same as well.
The biggest issue, though, is that if he did get stuck there, Jerkson is really low, and even if he maybe could have finished off Xpeke, did he really have enough health after that fact to get away from Mundo? So I think in this scenario, it actually worked out pretty well for him.
Cyanide going to be picking up his own blue. Nope, he's just going to be sitting there waiting for Xpeke to come on back. So we will be trading off blue to Ari. Ari, no signs yet for that malady, but she still has that 1 fairy charm, the Chalice of Harmony. No boots for her quite yet, although we do have the Sork shoes now on Diana. So looking for, again, that magic penetration, a very big theme this round. The Tess, however, after getting that 2-0, has come back bottom with Sven's as well as Winner, going for that dragon, and we actually don't have any vision on that quite yet, but Jerkson going right on top of Xpeke. Nobody has a flash, but he is able to clean that up, but now we might actually catch out Soaz in this bot lane. One more Mystic Shot. We don't have that flash ready to go. Sven's, however, does with his ultimate, and that's going to be another kill to the Test. So the Wolves right now are looking in pretty good form despite all the pressure that's come down on top of Elise.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, obviously, Reckless and Fnatic N-rated have been top lane, just kind of really putting that pressure on it. They did kind of even that gold out with the 1 tower up top, and N-rated did take the blue buff as well. But so far this game, I mean, 14,300 gold to Wolves and 12,700 to Fnatic. Wolves is actually doing very, very well.
They seem to be in a big rush to get down these turrets. I mean, 2 turrets down by the 10-minute mark. They already have that early dragon in their pocket as well. So the global gold, at least this early on, is really helping them out. Fnatic finally able to put up a defense in the mid, but Reckless top lane was able to put a tower on their board. But oh, so much damage coming down on top of it. And Raid of the Stranglethorns will knock him up. Should be an easy kill for Reckless, and yeah, he is able to pick it up. Xpeke throwing down the Spirit Rush, looking to get out of the aggression from from Knee God Bro, and the nice Glitter Lancer is going to be slowing down the Fnatic team. And so that should be a nice 1-for-1 trade out, but still, Jergson for N-rated. I feel like Fnatic got the better deal in that one.
I would definitely agree to that one. Obviously, you know, Fnatic is still pushing down this mid lane turret. I mean, Ahri's damage alone hits really hard, even on Warwick, who's starting to get just a little bit tanky with that Spirit Stone. But obviously, you know, you have a composition like Diana and Elise, who have not only the spiders, but Diana works with, you know, that attack speed. You're really going to want to push down turrets really quickly. So as actually hopping into the mid lane, safeguarding onto a ward, XL Winter popping his ult, but not quite enough from the ace in the hole, cleaning that one up, and Fnatic getting the mid lane turret at the same time.
So, yeah. Cheek for cheek at this point. Fnatic finally, you know, able to put up that big resistance and even able to even out the towers. So what looked like really good momentum there for the Wolves just immediately turned back upon them here from Fnatic. And I gotta say, coming around, putting down that ward safeguard, the dragon kick, it's just solidifying that kill on top of Winner. It could be the kind of revenge on top of N-rated. We got that ignite going off the shield, not going to be enough, but Jergson is going to trade himself out again for N-rated. That's 2 deaths in a row now for Jergson, only taking that support, but at the same time, it delayed the red. We got the True Shot barrage, it looks like going south, because Reckless is going to be pushing that tower at the same time. Wolves pushing towers up top, and I don't know, these guys just feel like just pressure all across the map.
Wolves is definitely methodically using this one out. I mean, obviously they're trying to really take map control. Once they hit that bottom lane turret, much earlier than Fnatic was able to take top, obviously you could just send the Tess and you could send XL Winner wherever you really want to go. But at the same time, I mean, obviously Reckless down bottom lane is able to clear out that turret. And while that fight happened back at mid lane when they took that mid turret, Reckless took that one up top as well. So as much pressure as Wolves is putting onto Fnatic, they're really getting it back. Soaz actually landing a Sonic Wave onto the Tess. Tess actually flashing back, Soaz getting his own answer as well. And both of them just kind of chasing after it. He keeps landing those Qs. There goes the ult back into the wall, but the Tess got just enough mana for an Arcane Shift. Here comes Cyanide with that ult. He's trying to make it back up. He actually misses the cleaver, but there is the Q on there from Lee Sin. He's actually going to have to back out of this one. Bjergsen actually matching on top of it. Sven actually hitting his ult and clearing that one out. Lee Sin getting taken down. Expecting tossing a ward over the wall. He did get the charm onto Warwick, but they're just going to have to back right out onto this one.
Xpeke, does he have that Spirit Rush? He does, so he's not going to be in a huge amount of danger, but still, what an extended chase there on top of the Tess, and you just got to be thankful at that point. I mean, he still had that barrier ready to go, but so many points in that defensive really served him well right there.
Yeah, it's clearly a good idea. Not to mention he has that cloth armor from the start. But when you go up against a Caitlyn, she's clearly going to outrange you, especially if she's got, you know, a Zyra to really hold you down in lane. So running that block, obviously quite a bit more important, and even having that cloth armor outside of it as well. Actually, he did sell the cloth armor, but still at this point, I mean, he's got to be safe right now. He can't really afford to continue to, you know, get caught out and get taken down.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing from Jergson. I mean, he's able to take down N-rated at every turn, but at the same time, he is dropping as a consequence. So, I mean, 2 quick deaths in a row, that's really kind of stalled him out in terms of that farming. You can see Ahri now taking a little bit of a creep lead there, 95 to 84. But Reckless, however, he had such a great creep boost in the beginning of this game. He's the only person above 100, and he still has those 3 kills to match Ezreal at this point.
Yeah, he's about 600 or 500 gold ahead of Ezreal, and he's going to be able to get that Infinity Edge a lot quicker. 21,100 gold for Fnatic, 21,000 even for Wolves. So the game is still going pretty even so far. 3 towers to 3 towers. I believe Dragon should be coming up very quickly, so it's looking like Fnatic's setting up for that.
Yeah, it was a 9-minute something kill, so 15 is pretty much on the mark. Niganbro is going to be coming down here as well, so it should be a good old 5-on-5, but the Dragon has now spawned. It is going to be started up by Fnatic. Down goes the True Shot Barrage, so they do clear on out of that. Just clearing out the creeps, the traps now as well. And some pink wards going down, just denying the vision. So a little bit of a Dragon standoff. Not too often you see that this early into the game.
No, this is obviously a scenario where neither team really wants to be the ones to start the fight. They want to have that counter initiation, because whoever's going to get started on is obviously going to blow up at this point. So you really have to be careful about, you know, who gets caught out. Who do you lose? I mean, do you obviously have the Mundo get set up to get caught out, or does he have enough health to actually deal with the enemy team?
Making sure that there's nobody in that bush. We're just throwing down poke at this point. Crescent strikes, charms, spirit balls, the cleavers, throwing down the plants as well. Just trying to make the other team back off. Now, at the same time, Lee Sin keeps popping down south just to auto push the lane, and eventually that might become a little bit of a concern here for the Wolves. But at the same time, the Wolves could easily just go mid, give up the tower, or give up the Dragon, but take the mid tower. But I don't think that seems to be on their mind at this point.
I think at this point, losing mid lane tower to get Dragon might be a little bit better of a scenario. I mean, clearly you have the map control that they both have, because all of the outer towers from both teams have been taken down. So, I mean, if you lose that second inner turret, it's not really that much map control, because you're already so close to your base to begin with. But Wolves actually going into the blue buff and Rated Cyanide are right there, but Lee Sin, that Soaz, almost getting caught out. He's stuck back at mid lane. I think Wolves are actually going to want to engage on this one.
Yeah, now that Lee Sin has actually been caught out, we do got the ace in the hole going down, does get blocked out by Nigadbro, and down goes Mundo really, really quickly. Look at Jerkson just looking absolutely fantastic with that Lulu ult on top of him. Nigadbro is going to be trying to chase down Xpeke, and Reckless using that cleanse, using that net just to get out of town. But Soaz is here. We're looking for a kill on top of the test. It is going to get it, but Nigadbro is going to be dropping as well. So what looked like a good fight for the Wolves ended up actually backfiring in their face, and now Dragon is going to go to Fnatic.
Yeah, Fnatic just engaged that one really well. Even though they didn't have Soaz, obviously N-Rated was able to pop down that Stranglethorns and hit all of the Wolves. And that was enough to really seal the deal when it came to that fight. I mean, yeah, Cyanide just got blown up, but when you burn everything trying to kill a Mundo, do you have anything left over for the Caitlyn that's already extremely far ahead, or the Lee Sin with a Brutalizer and a BF sword?
Unfortunately, no. And that ties up the kills, 9-9. Fnatic taking a little bit of a gold lead out of that as well. I mean, Lee Sin was technically, farming. He kept popping out to the lane, kept popping up to the mid, and now top lane just getting pushed out. We also had just the Dragon, again, global gold being added to all of that. So after that fight, might be the even kills, might be even towers, but definitely the creeps going the way of Fnatic.
If we clearly take a look at like the gold count, I mean, obviously Caitlyn's setting at 7,500 gold at this point to to Ezreal only really having he doesn't even have 5,900. There it is, just ticking at 5,900. I mean, he's pretty far behind when it comes to it. Of course, Diana's ahead of Ahri, but only by just a little bit, about 1,000 or 600 gold at this point. Everyone else is still pretty even. I mean, Lee Sin's ahead of Elise, but Elise did get shut down really hard early on. 59 CS on Elise to 80 from Lee Sin.
That could have been a much, much different number by 19 minutes in, but we're seeing somewhat of an accelerated match because so many towers just got pressed upon early. We saw that early Dragon as well, so it's not a long drawn-out game. The Wolves are not shooting for a long drawn-out game with this kind of pressure, this kind of movement in this match, but at the same time Fnatic are just not rolling over and taking it. They're able to dish it out just as easily, and I'm a little concerned because, I mean, Reckless now 5-1 has shown himself some really superior positioning, has that Infinity Edge now as well.
Yeah, not only does he have that Infinity Edge, but he's just free farming. Ezreal's chilling out with his team. I mean, obviously they're moving as a group and they want to actually take advantages as a group, but when you have Reckless just off to the side farming and they're not forcing a fight on top of it, you're really hurting yourself when it comes down to it. I mean, Mundo picking up magic resist as well as even Ari picking up magic resist at the same time. So Mundo's going to get that Spirit Visage up and running. He's going to be even tankier with that Spirit of the Ancient Golem. He's going to be able to just really survive through just about everything with his ult. And then Ari picking up the Negatron Cloak for an Abyssal Scepter at this point. So, I mean, Diana's doing less, and Ezreal still kind of only really has that Infinity Edge. I mean, he's still short a Zeal. He doesn't have any lifesteal from a Vampiric Scepter. It's looking like it's starting to go in Fnatic's favor. I mean, of course, the gold lead is less than 3,000. It's 2,400 at this point. I mean, there's that.
There is that, indeed. The Stranglethorn going to go out, is going to knock up 2 of the Wolves. Maybe a little bit of a premature, but here goes the ace in the hole as well, just chunking down Jerks, and they want to make sure that he cannot initiate upon them. Lee Sin is down south, but Wolves going to go in. The True Shot Barrage coming out as well. Lulu just throwing Sven up into the air, and Cyanide is going to be dropping. So, you know, despite all that pressure on top of Jerkson, they were able to still take out Cyanide. They did bring down Sven really low, but no kill there, so that is going to be somewhat of a victory there for the Wolves. Now, of course, we did not have Soaz in the fight, so it was a 5-on-4, and they took that opportunity brilliantly.
Yeah, this is where Wolves has been shining lately. I mean, obviously, you don't have the Ezreal farming nearly as much as the Caitlyn, but clearly Fnatic is splitting up. Like, they send Caitlyn top lane to farm that out, or they send Soaz to farm bottom lane out. And although they're putting the pressure onto it, Wolves are responding almost perfectly. Every time they'll see someone in another lane, they'll just force a fight, and they'll get, 1 or 2 kills out of it. And it's not a huge advantage when it comes to it, but that's still a lot of experience that they're losing. It's objectives that they're losing. It's it's even the gold from the minions that they're losing at that point.
200 creeps, 22 minutes in. Reckless is pretty much on par for maybe not grabbing the whole creep title from Froggen, but he's doing a damn good job of it at any rate. 203. He should have a good chunk of cash, 900 to his name, so not exactly enough to get that Phantom Dancer. It probably will be that Phantom Dancer. I'd like to see a Static Shiv just for the fun of it, but it very likely will be that Phantom.
I would agree to that one. The other thing that it could very well possibly, to be honest, I don't see a Static Shiv coming out this early on. You're probably going to want to get that on something like an Ashe or whatever. But Godbro actually taking quite a bit of damage from Soaz bot lane. He is going to have to turn that one around as Warwick was heading down there. Yeah, I mean it's a relatively even game at this point.
Well, yeah, 30K to the 33, not a huge amount of cash, and 19 kills in 23 minutes. I mean, we have really kept up with the kills. Last game we saw with the Wolves versus Ultra, I think it was a 40-minute game, and we had 14 kills or something like that. So, I mean, we are clashing. It's not just sitting back on our heels and farming it up, although this dragon did die about the 17-minute mark, so any second now it is going to be popping up. Do we have any vision here for the Wolves? We do not. But they have a very good idea of where Fnatic is right now.
That's right. That dragon just absolutely got melted. I actually didn't even expect that one to go very fast. The charm lands down onto Sven. Actually misses just outside of the Stranglethorns, but they're going to have to back out. That was just a really quick dragon. I don't think Wolves could have even expected that one to go down that fast.
My camera panned out and it was dead. I mean, that's how quick it went. But 3 plants. Like, Zyra is not one of those supports that just kind of sits on her heels, sustains everyone. No, I mean, she has a Haunting Guise on top of Sork Boots. I mean, she is doing damage. And the problem is, though, with those last 2 Stranglethorns, like, they could have been so much better, and that's why Fnatic just has to keep backing off out of these ones, because without that Stranglethorn, they don't have that extra boost for these team fights. When you got to go 5 versus 4 in terms of ultimates, they just don't really seem to want to do that.
Yeah, Zyra is actually the biggest part of Fnatic's initiation. I mean, clearly you could have a a Muno Cleaver or even a Lee Sin trying to kick, or even a Charm. But at that stance, the biggest form of initiation that Fnatic has is N-rated landing a Stranglethorns on at least 3 people from Wolves. The only problem is that if you clearly look at Wolves teams, you have the Warwick ultimate, you have the Diana just popping in and pulling an entire team into an area, and you even have, Lulu having that, you can have somebody dive in and pop that ult. And at the same time, Lulu actually rushed Mikhail's Crucible. I think that's the second time we've actually seen him rush that item. It's pretty clear that Wolves wants that team fight, and Fnatic is really basing it all on that Zyra.
I think every time we've seen a Lulu, we've seen that Mikhail's Crucible come out, and just the ability to remove CC from a single target. Sure, it's a 3-minute cooldown, but we're almost guaranteed to have a fight every 3 minutes into the late game. So, it's a really good pickup. It can be very powerful. Likely going to be keeping it here for the test. Does not have that cleanse, whereas Reckless does. Other items out. We've caught up a little bit here with Ezreal. Has that Zeal, looking for that Phantom Dancer, but we do have Phantom now finished up for Reckless. So now he does ignore unit collision, the new addition to that Phantom Dancer. No more creep blockage for him. But at the same time, we're also looking at Jerkson. His very common build is probably going to go for that Rabadons after all that penetration that he has ready to go.
That's right, and he could still even go for the Zonias as well if that needs to be turned around. But with how far ahead he is and how much money he has and where he's going, I would really expect to see a Rabadons come out of that one. You clearly need a lot of ability power to handle this, but Soaz off to the side, trying to zone out that Ezreal. Tess actually heading bottom lane. I think Fnatic has vision of this. Now, there's only the 3 of them mid lane, and all right, so Tess actually turned around as soon as he saw that. But yeah, right now Fnatic is really trying to push their advantage at this point.
Well, when there's 5 people just coming straight for your turret in the mid, and you're only 3, yeah, they're going to pounce on you pretty hard. Jerkson did go back, did get himself that Zonia, so it's not going to be that Rabadons. He's just looking for that crowd control. He is a big focus target when he gets into there, because he does have to get into that melee range. As soon as he can go in there with his ultimate, then yeah, we have the Lulu knock it up, which is an interesting synergy that I don't think I've actually seen before, but very reminiscent of an Orianna and a Malphite. Malphite just goes in, throw down that command. Well, we can just get in there with our Diana, just knock them all up with Lulu, and there you go. So going for that zone is a little bit more defensive. At the same time, Elise also going for that new Warmogs. A little bit less on terms of that health regen, but still really good bind. Cleanse coming out there for Reckless. I don't know, now could be the time to go on him. Does not have that cleanse.
You know what? Actually, I think that's what Wolves are expecting to happen. Godbro is a little bit low, and he doesn't really have any straight-up items. He's almost running an AD Bruiser type Elise, but there it is. Fnatic pushing down into that mid lane turret. Sven actually right in the front, ace in the hole, and the Stranglethorns clearing that one up. Cyanide just hammering away at that turret, and there goes Soaz landing that Sonic Wave on top of Godbro, but he's going to have to back out of this one as he is quite low. It looks like Fnatic just going to take that small advantage and sort of get out of there, but that's exactly what you kind of need to do in these situations. It's not so one-sided that it can't be turned around. It's only it's a 4,000 gold difference. It's quite a bit. Actually, it's 5,000 gold difference. It's quite a bit, but it's not so much that they can't absolutely handle it.
So the poke coming up from Fnatic was just clearly superior there. I almost feel like Sven's got baited by his team into that death. It's just like, all right, now's the time to go, and Fnatic just backed off and they poked him down, and that Stranglethorns just absolutely tore him apart. And at the same time, we're looking at Reckless with the Piltovers, the traps. N-Raid has been throwing out all those enraged plants. We got Cleavers, we got Sonic Waves, and we got the Spirit Orbs coming out from Fnatic. Everybody on Fnatic can just poke, and we saw that at the Dragon fight, and we just saw that here. That poke was just enough to burst down Sven, and that kind of stopped the initiation for the Wolves.
Yeah, when you're stuck in a situations like Wolves is, where Fnatic just has so much poke, you really have to either completely avoid those fights altogether, or you have to commit extremely early. And I think that's what Sven was trying to point out, is that they really needed to get something onto it.
So here comes Fnatic, plants in the forward with Cyanide. Somebody messaging me. That's strange. But yeah, Dragon is up. Did die about the 23-minute mark. So yeah, about 30-minute mark. It has come back up. And Fnatic, they have these timings down. Wolves had it down as well, but you can see once again just throwing down a lot of this poke on top of the Wolves. And the Wolves, they want an in on this. They want to jump in on this Fnatic team. They've gone toe-to-toe with them pretty much every time. But the poke is just so strong right now.
Yeah, they really need a very good initiate. I mean, yeah, you have the Warwick ult, and you have, the Diana mixed with the Mikhail's Crucible and Lulu ult, but even then, that's still a lot that you kind of have to, bank on. And again, it's coming down to that situation where neither team really wants to be the aggressor. They all have a lot of really good counter initiation, but when it comes to the initiation, you kind of have to be very careful. Bjergsen actually taking quite a bit of damage there from Zyra and Caitlyn, but they're backing out of this one. Diana was able to get that blue buff.
Throwing down a ward as well, just to ensure that nothing fishy goes on here with the Dragon. Has to use that Arcane Shift. We actually landed the Sonic Wave, but we're not going to be jumping on it. Out goes the True Shot Barrage, as well as the Nigodbro going for Soaz, an interesting choice, but Bjergsen just has to get that Lulu ultimate. Does not matter. He gets bursted down almost immediately. Double kill coming out for Reckless. Forcing out that flash here from the test does not matter. Soaz is in fantastic form. Nigodbro is not going to be so happy with that one, as he's going to drop to that triple, and Lee Sin able to clean up for the ace. Once again, Fnatic just showing superior form in these team fights.
Yeah, this has been a culmination of what we've been seeing all game long. I mean, every time they can pull a very small advantage, they make sure and they grab it, and they don't overcommit. They don't get too greedy. They don't think, well, we got this little advantage, let's see if we can push for that one. No, they pull back. And every time you get just a little bit more ahead, it's so much harder for the other team to find those mistakes and find those openings. So Fnatic here getting down that mid lane inhibitor turret, and then inhibitor as well. Wolves are in kind of a bad situation.
11 to 15. Yeah, anytime you get aced, you're definitely not in a superior situation. And almost 10,000 gold lead now with that Dragon down. So about 32-minute Dragon. Should see the next one around the 38. Reckless, red and blues stealing it out. Not going to be giving it to the test. And a triple kill for him that last fight. I mean, he does have that last whisper, but he's going to be able to go home with a good amount of cash in his pocket. In fact, he has over 1,900 gold to his name. Same here with that Lee Sin. I do believe Lee Sin was able to pick up the double in that last team fight. So, this whole weekend, we haven't seen a tank Lee Sin. We've seen these damaging bruiser or assassin types builds coming out from every Lee Sin that we've seen. They all include a brutalizer. They usually include a bloodthirster. I'm waiting to see if we're going to see a cleaver today.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he does have the Brutalizer and he has the Ruby Crystal, so he has already part of the Black Cleaver. So as actually getting engaged on by Bjergsen, actually having to turn around on this one. Cyanide just running in, expecting landing a charm onto Lulu. Lulu actually getting taken down. Cyanide just pushing right on top of it. Sven actually did land the ult, but he was able to get taken down by Caitlyn here, and Cyanide is just still tanking that turret. Fury actually hitting that Zhonya's under his own turret, and Reckless actually killing him off and taking down Elise at the same time. A triple kill coming out from Fnatic. Soaz right now hitting on top of Ezreal, and Tess got taken out at the same time. Ace coming out from Fnatic.
Back-to-back aces is not a good sign here for the Wolves. They lose 2 top turrets, 5 teammates, and very likely the game right here, as we do have the surrender vote. So for sure, that was the death knell right there. But 20 to 12. I mean, we were at what, 10 to 10, and then all of a sudden 2 team fights later, 20 to 12 with back-to-back aces. Fnatic just really responding to the aggressive pressure of the Wolves and able to just bring a victory to their name in this game number 1.
Yeah, and it was such a decisive victory too. I mean, at some point, there's really not a whole lot you can come back to do from that. But you got to remember, this is a best of 3. It's not over yet. I mean, these top tier teams are top tier for a reason. They're very good at controlling their mindset. So Wolves right now, the best way that they can get back into this is just shake off that first game, act like it never happened, and go back into game number 2 and set up and say, you know what, we've got this, we can handle this without a doubt.
And something, again, to point out, I mean, Caitlyn, with that lane swap, just had such a huge creep advantage early game. She actually ended the game over 300 creeps, 15,000 gold in her pocket. And because of that top lane aggression, they really did shut down the early game of Knee God, bro. And then as soon as they swapped him up, they went down for the first blood to a 3-man Fnatic gank. This could be the winning strategy here from Fnatic. Just take out the top lane of Wolves, because it worked out extremely well for them that round.
Yeah, when you pick something as volatile as Elise in the top lane, I mean, if you don't get a 2v1, Elise clearly has the advantage when it comes to Elise versus Lee Sin. So, yeah, you really have to control, you know, your lanes and make sure that everything gets set up the exact way you want it. So, I mean, obviously Fnatic took a little bit of an issue there when they sent Lee Sin bottom lane. Lee Sin's not prized for being able to 1v2 very well. But against a Lulu Ezreal, if he stays safe, just uses that Sonic Wave to kind of ranged farm as much as he possibly can, he's still going to be in a better off situation than an Elise versus a Zyra support at the very least.
All right, guys, we're going to jump into game number 2. Reckless already thrown out those invites, so it will not be long now. We're going to update the stream and have a few words from our sponsors. So once again, Fnatic up 1-0 in the finals here of the Thor Open League of Legends stream. Game number 2 coming up in just a few moments. FourCourtJester with the Insigma theory. We will return in a few moments. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see you in a sec.